Okay, I guess I'll jump in now. Probably be close to 700 hours at this point. Started the game, didn't really change much in the months we got to play around with it doing QA. Just a few minor things.
Hello? Anyone there?
Yeah, originally here, you actually had to spam the mouse button several times to get it to open. Nowhere near as it used to be. I think I had clocked in about 50 mouse clicks originally. Now it only takes a handful.
Oh my god. What was that?
Oh, rise and shine, folks.
Is everybody okay?
I almost spilled my coffee. Oh my gosh. I'll have to check the readings, but that may have been our biggest quake yet.
Standard procedure. Newhart, you know what to do. If there's any critical damage to the base, let me know.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Dr. Van Buren, you will assist me at the landing site for the Cyrano. Declan, you're on comms. Find any system issues, relay them to Shane.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Switch to a private frequency, Declan. No chatter on open channels. Over and out.
Private channel time.
And then here, originally, you woke up in someone else's quarters. Closed up the bed, there was some interesting undergarments hiding underneath it. But since no one else is on the station, that really didn't allude to anything too special going on. Did originally, at one point, the photo you saw was the portrait of the person whose quarter it belonged to. And when you open it up, it falls down, you pick it up, it turned into Shane and a picture of his family. Bit of an indication things aren't going to go the way you think they are. This point still messes me up a few times.
Damn it. What was that code?
Originally, you only had to log in to unlock the door, but that seemed a bit weird, so they added an unlock option here.
Okay, confirming my ID bypassed security for my room. Door's unlocked now.
Yeah, so many times when I'm needing to test this real quick, I'll totally forget about the unlock part. So I'll log in, Leave the desk, run up to the door, and realize, oh wait, it's still locked.
Well,
Muscle memories are annoying at times.
and Dr. Volkova is apparently deep into her biocultivation duties. So, I guess that means you have the base all to yourself.
And where are you?
Once more, I venture into the great unknown. On duty at the satellite dish. And currently communicating, which is technically my job. Kind of.
What the hell? Hey, what's up with the lights?
Yeah, getting some odd spikes in power as the batteries kick in. Hey, you just hang tight while I do your job for you, okay? You know, have a coffee. No, really, take a load off.
It's also at one point, you got to get on the treadmill here and do a little running. Learn about your heart rate and whatnot, but that mechanic just did not get fully fleshed out. As interesting as it could have been. Coffee machine.
Who put up this sticky note about the witch?
You like my drawing? I made it last night.
Do I like poking fun at a shared paranoid delusion while everyone is tired and isolated from human contact on Mars?
Okay, killer. Remind me not to talk to you before you've had your coffee.
It's flashlight right here.
Can you check your biogauge and see if your daily objectives have been updated?
Copy that.
Actually, right here for the longest time. It was in a very hidden place. Took a while for some people to actually find it. And we moved it to this corner where it now is. And there was still a few people that totally would walk by it every single time. So that's why it's lit up the first time you see it. Make it a bit more eye-catchy.
Crap.
What's up?
I seem to have misplaced my biogauge.
Josie saw it in the lab on her way out. Told me to tell you. Better get it before you do anything else. Speaking of which, that should do it. I fixed the lounge door to the lab.
So weird. Deja vu. There was a stuck door in the dream I had. It's not important. It's just weird.
You're forgetting the last 3 times something malfunctioned in this over-engineered campsite.
Now, where is that biogauge?
Another fun aspect.
No good.
Have to
I think there's
set
a
it.
reset button somewhere. Just my luck. I need to find something that can fit in there. Declan, I found the biogauge, but it won't turn on. I need to reset it.
Find something small and thin. A pen should work.
Originally, this little pin right here is in 3 other locations. Quickest was all the way over here. One a bit further down. One upstairs too. But it seemed a little bit too much work at this stage in the game. Put one in a way more convenient location.
There. Got it working.
Great. You should be able to reboot the security system now. Just scan the servers with the biogauge.
earthquake probably knocked the panels out of alignment. This has been an ongoing issue. I'll have to adjust the solar panels manually. Declan, I am buckled in and headed to the solar panel array.
Well, now you've got nothing to do but listen to me.
Just when my migraine was starting to clear up. I'm actually glad to have the Cyrano landing today. Some fresh faces, supplies, distractions. Everyone's so on edge lately. I don't know, maybe I'm just imagining it. These dreams are starting to get to me.
Yeah, you're not the only one having strange dreams there, Ace.
You too?
Oh yeah. I mean, put yourself in my shoes. You log out after your shift, eat some rehydrated meatloaf, and bunk down for the night. But the second you fall asleep, it feels like you're back at your desk and you hear the static again. Calibrate, more static, calibrate, then something sounds different. It's a pattern. You start decoding it. It's gibberish, but the static keeps talking. It wants you to hear the symbols. Copying their scribbled notes around me. Feels like I haven't slept at all. All right. I showed you mine. Now lay it on me. Dreams, nightmares, fantasies, your deepest, darkest fears. Let's hear it.
Sorry, I just pulled up to the office. I'll have to get back to you on all that.
Suit yourself. The anticipation is killing me.
Okay. Elevator's not working. Someone must have borrowed a power cell. Declan, I'm heading up to the perilous rocky pathway. Power cell for the elevator is missing.
Have fun. Oh, hey, just got an update from Commander Wilcox. Landing site preparations are underway. Also, she told me to clean up my shit at the comms tower. She didn't want to scare off the new recruits.
I like Josie.
Here there are actually two paths you can take. The one that it indicates falls in line with what your objectives are. Like power conduit thingy up there. But I want to do things out of order.
Definitely desynchronized.
Different
I
route.
have to connect with my biogauge to rotate them. If I'm quick, there may still be enough hours of daylight to recharge the overnight batteries.
Of course, there is fall damage. You have to know good places to fall without dying,
Yeah, it's nice to step outside. Breathe
assuming you
that
don't want to die.
distant Martian air.
Well, there's that. But I can move out here. I don't know, spread my wings a bit.
Like a beautiful dead Martian swan.
Like a dead Martian eagle, thank you.
Low, see if I can that'll improve the frame rate. It's one of the few places you could enter with your spacesuit still on.
Who's that?
Who's what?
Don't know. Thought I saw someone. Don't see anyone now. Let's just get this done. Lucky I brought along a power cell.
That would very keep the textures looking a bit more purdy.
Hey, Declan, why don't you give me your password? I'm just gonna check out your browsing history.
Hard pass.
I should grab that cell powering the facility before I go.
There have been countless times running through this game I totally forget grabbing that power cell. Get all the way back up the elevator, clear across the map, and then I realize, oh wait, I get to go all the way back and get this power cell again. Yeah, I've been trying to adjust the frame rate stuff. It's a bit of an old computer here. See if I can lower the settings a bit more. I've had to play the game on all the visual settings, so lower quality doesn't necessarily bother me too much.
Shane, what is the situation at the solar site?
Panels are out of alignment again.
Still not looking stellar, is it?
I don't have the parts to test. Can't confirm the issue 100%.
All right, just so you know, anything breaks around here and I've got 4 Orochi execs on my ass. If you want to explain to them why a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment is being manually adjusted every day, be my guest. But we have a mission and I'd rather focus on that, not fucking filling out paperwork. Copy?
Copy.
Not your fault, but after the Cyrano lands, no excuses. Get it done. Over and out.
Yes, I have almost 700 hours into this game doing QA for it. I think we started doing QA on it in June or so. And it's been a fun experience. Mostly the QA team I'm a part of is responsible for Funcom's live games, which are the MMOs, Anarchy Online, Age of Conan, and The Secret World. So we're generally used to just working on games that have are just very stable code bases because all those games are several years old. Working on this one was interesting since it's such a brand new game. There was nothing really mature about it. So learning new ways of testing. Find stuff that we normally wouldn't need to check.
That should do it.
Hi, Shane. I made a biogauge program so that you can see when Phobos is passing overhead. It circles Mars 3 times a day, you know, and it is required that everyone downloads this program. I've already added it to your OS to ensure that you don't forget.
Thanks?
You're welcome. I think it'll really
That voice slide was a bit of a late addition, but
Declan, the solar panels are now calibrated. Heading up the hill to the conduit.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, copy that.
bit random, but I find it kind of amusing at this point.
Looking good. Power should be back on.
Back down the perilous rocky path.
Got good news and bad news. Good news,
Bit of a
found water on Mars.
speedy method.
Bad news, it is spraying all over the greenhouse. Restoring power must have triggered the pumps, and I'm showing significant pressure loss across the system.
Can't be cut off remotely?
Oh, sorry, cowboy. This is a job that requires your hands-on expertise.
All right. Heading back now.
What did you just do? I have water spraying all over my greenhouse. I would not expect this from a new heart.
Can't you just turn it off?
I do not have time for this. You will fix this.
Jeez. Who's shitting her cereal?
Yeah, no problem with that. I don't think there's too much spoilage in the first part of the game. It's all rather just mundane, slowly building up the setting. Seeing some key points before things go crazy. I think I've seen most people go through this game in 8 hours or so.
Still fighting that headache?
Yeah, I still can't shake that dream.
Speedrunning this, I can usually get it done in about an hour and a half.
It was the last birthday party my mom was around.
And I could still probably shave a few more minutes off of that.
Know what happened to her?
Not really. It was big news when she disappeared. She was a big shot theoretical mathematician.
Oh yeah. Everyone knows Dr. Newhart. I mean, I had to read Engineering Dimensions in grad school.
This happens in the future.
After my birthday, I head downstairs for breakfast.
Happens in like 2065 or so
Wide open.
for the
It's the
year.
only place she could be, I thought. So I went down. There was well, she wasn't there. Or anywhere. We searched for years. Wow. Feels like I'm back in therapy.
Well, no better place to tackle your problems than from 130 million miles away, right?
Warning. The greenhouse sector is experiencing flooding. Flooding in the greenhouse sector.
Declan, the greenhouse is definitely in a sorry state. This has got to be fixed before the Cyrano lands.
Well, the major issue is the water reclaimer. I'm reading it as offline. Work your magic.
be able to pass through now.
Well, the placeholder text we had for picking up certain items, such as the little wrench there, was Shane would just pick it up and say, "Good old wrench." So for several months afterwards, that was pretty much punchline to several jokes in the office. Good old wrench, good old computer, just about anything.
They should have sent a plumber. What a mess. I gotta keep an eye on that steam so I don't get burned. Shit! Dr. Volkova? What was that?
Originally, these tunnels were more of a brownish cement look, which kind of made the flooding in it seem just like it was a sewer. So for several times I ran through it, I thought nothing of it. I thought the flooding was just normal in there. They reworked it a bit, made it more metallic-y looking, so that the water definitely looks more out of place.
What is that? Ina, the entire mangrove root structure is contaminated. There is a viscous black substance like oil. It seems like it's spreading.
It is not contaminated. It is changing, evolving. It's beautiful. It is reborn.
This doesn't look right.
Constant interruptions. I do not have time to explain myself to you.
Finally, the water reclaimer. Of course, he leaves his ID. At least he has a higher clearance level. Well, Lucas, I'm gonna need to borrow this for a bit. Should be able to open these doors now. Lucas, the pieces for the water reclaimer are missing. Where are they?
The reclaimer pieces are in their proper receptacles.
More specifically?
Follow the colored pipes.
Frame rate still looks bad. Much more I can do. The old computer point.
Sorry,
See.
unmuted elsewhere.
Jesus! I found one of the components.
Oh, great. Now just find the other two so we can clean up this mess.
really let these plants take over. What the hell? Jeez. Is someone there?
I think primarily this is a what would be considered a walking simulator, much like the park was that we released in previous years. There's a handful of puzzles. There's really no combat. Um, there's a handful of locations where there are some quick time events where you have to center in on an action point on an attacking monster to fend them off. But that's about as much as combat gets.
Jesus!
Oh yeah, there's going to be more interactions in this compared to the park. Although I have to say I have not played the park. I did read the synopsis for it, because I am not a horror fan at all. Most horror stuff makes me a bit squeamish. It's like, even though I know it's all fake and stuff, it just, the imagery just messes with me too much. And so I was very hesitant when I had to do QA for this game, because I was afraid of just how much horror it was going to be. Luckily, it's not too bad for me.
Something is loose.
Something? What something?
I don't know yet.
Okay, I'll contact Wilcox at the landing site. She'll get Lucas to talk. He should know what Volkova's been doing in there. Just hang tight and get that reclaimer online.
Also, another fun thing was, originally you really had to like trace these pipes and keep a good visual eye on where they were going. And then someone had an interesting suggestion of highlighting them with the biogauge. That way they can be a bit, they stand out a bit more, especially in the dense fog areas. Make things a bit easier to track down. And then this puzzle, first time I came across it, I had no clue what to do. So I turned over to one of my coworkers that I know enjoys puzzle games, and I asked her, what on earth am I supposed to do here? I knew it involved math, but I'm not terribly great at math. I prefer just to write a program to do math for me. So it's like, as soon as she saw the puzzle, she was like, oh, you just do this. Like, well, I wouldn't have known that. So, to a lot of people, the puzzles will be pretty obvious.
Environment control console. Should be right outside the door.
If you're anything like me, you will have no clue what you're doing. This part was in one of our recent trailers, or I think the last trailer we published on the Funcom YouTube site. So I don't think it's terrible spoilage.
What the hell? Declan, are you there? Declan! God damn it, Declan! What is that? Shit!
Run away!
Oh shit!
This part was pretty interesting because originally when you ran up, you had no clue what to do. The door that just busted open to the right was actually locked initially, and countless people would die here. So they finally decided to, at that moment, grab hold of the camera and move it over to the right so you could see the door is now gone. Because so many people would not look over there again once the monster appeared, and they'd end up dying. It definitely took me 5 deaths before I noticed that. So adding that extra little cue there helps make things a bit more understandable as to where you're supposed to go. That's really the only math puzzle in here. The others provide a bit more clues and stuff.
There's a horrible creature in the greenhouse. It tried to kill me. Do not return to base. Does anyone read me? Ina, Lucas, Commander Wilcox. I've got to warn them.
This is also a fairly recent edition of him more anxiously trying to get things done since you were just in a very high stress situation. It was kind of funny. Originally it had the
If I can get to Declan at the satellite station, we can try to reestablish communications.
had the standard animations for refilling, which is very calm and collected. After being chased by a monster, most people would not still be calm and collected. Yes, I mean that's something I never realized myself until I started doing QA. Is that, as we're playing something constantly, some of us would run through this game 2, 3 times a day. Once you start doing it that many times, you start noticing, why isn't something in here happening, or why does this happen? there's actually several areas where originally Shane didn't react to anything. And so, as QA, we were like, shouldn't he be like screaming or something at this point? He just saw a monster. Or, he just saw that tendril just recoil out of nowhere. So we'd file that as a bug. And worst case, the devs will just say, won't fix or whatever.
What the fuck? Declan,
Many times they'll take our
something
our
wrong.
opinions. They'll consider our opinions and go from there. Definitely cool when our suggestions make it.
Oh my god. Why is it glowing? The orb is reacting to my hand.
Yeah, this was another interesting change. For the longest time, you actually had to use your flashlight here and shine your flashlight on the orb to charge it. And it wasn't terribly intuitive because you had to have your flashlight there for a few seconds for it to work.
It's burning under the skin.
So
Why is this happening?
someone came up with the scar and whatnot, and the whole use the force kind of Neo effect. I just started doing QA just over a year ago now. Before that, I predominantly did customer service type jobs. I actually I'm on my second tour at Funcom, I guess you could say. I originally started Funcom back in 2010 doing customer service. Then 2012, shortly after the Secret World launched, got laid off because the game just didn't do as well as they had hoped for. Even though the game did really good, just not as high as expectations. So they did a lot of downsizing at that point. So for 5 years, I was at a different company that wasn't related to gaming.
What's going on? Fully powered.
And then Funcom had a customer service position open again. They jumped at the chance to get me back because I know quite a bit about Anarchy Online. Because I've played that game for a very long time. And then last year, with some people shifting around to different positions, a QA spot opened up, and I took that opportunity.
This one's working differently. The scar is not charging this enough. Maybe I need more energy.
Yeah, the hexagon rocks are pretty neat. While it's not something I can confirm, I personally kind of feel that may be one of those hints at tying into Secret World because of the hexagons and the honeycomb and the bee theme in there. This whole area, I still question whether or not this is all just a dream, or did he really, like, teleport somewhere? It's kind of left ambiguous, I think. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen such things natural, but I'm generally not a rock person. I may have to Google image that later, though. Thank you.
Fuck no!
Well, that's usually the case for pretty much anyone in areas they live. They never take advantage of what's around them. Like they always go somewhere else. It's another area I occasionally totally forget about. I will run by it and keep going this direction for some reason, even though I know I have to come over here.
This is familiar. 3 connections.
Okay, activity will do that. Are there volcanoes in Ireland? Was that just from some long ago time? Yeah. See you later. Have fun. Yeah, it's a pretty fun game for people that like this type. Spaceman. Still can. If you let those spacemen catch you, that's not good. So they will end up killing you. This area was also much darker. The first few iterations, I kept getting lost and turned around countless times. Then they did a lighting pass on it and made it so much more better.
Hello, little dream. I wonder what you are. All the other little dreams are gone. They imagine themselves astronauts. The filth crawled into their shell heads, just like the ore, just like your skull. They made such noise they tried to wake the moons, removed a variable, broke the seal. They must never wake. The lullaby must never end. The moons bend above us. It is all but a brilliant equation. Once you open the book, it's already too late. It is the contagion of grammar. It was always too late. Open your share my little dream? Ya on ya, ya pat la pa, saya ha. Ya on ya, ya pat la pa, saya ha.
What? My childhood basement.
This area went through a few iterations. Most notable is they added a bit more clutter, made it more lived in than it was. Foreboding to the future. This guy. This guy was actually part of the original sequence that was in the basement, where you actually got chased by the stalking monster. Where you actually had to have him follow you into here. You would use that to create a diversion while you ran in here, turned back on the electricity, and electrocute the stalker. Just seemed a bit much for this part of the game,
I see light behind the bookcase.
so it got eliminated fairly early on.
Carbon, beryllium, helium. What is all this? I've never seen this room before. Was Mom really keeping this thing down here? I remember her being an eccentric, but not like this.
This is one of my favorites, just because of what Shane says when you inspect it.
A pair of orbs. Weird. Even from this photo, it feels like they're watching me.
Pair of orbs. Weird. It's probably just the juvenile side of me that finds it amusing. Oh, forgot a photo. That jump scare still startles some people at work to this day.
these symbols. They're similar to the ones on the altar.
Yeah, originally there wasn't a voice line in that. You would just complete this, the glyphs would show up, and you're like, what do I do now? You would actually have to find the right place to stand in front of the altar for the tablet to then, the corresponding tablet to update. That was also something QA was able to provide some feedback on, that it was just a little too confusing there. So they added the voice line and some camera work there to give you a better clue as to what you need to do next. Tablet. This puzzle drove the most people crazy, I think.
Ah! Felt like my brain was melting. Those symbols were similar to the ones at the altar.
Originally, you had to stare at all the symbols at one time and just wait there for a few seconds, and then it would trigger. So they changed it to where you just have to look at each one individually. Also, this door here wasn't there, so you could more clearly see this one with the others. But since you only have to see them one at a time, they added a bit more clutter to the basement.
I can
Still,
feel them vibrating behind my eyes.
probably better emphasize how eccentric Cynthia is.
That book. I know that book. Mom was very protective of it.
So yeah, at this point, you would pick up the book and then go over to where you initially appeared, which is right here. You would use the book thinking that, oh, this is a gateway out of here. All of a sudden, the monster pops out, and then you're running away, being chased, trying to figure out how to kill it. It was interesting, but I think the new system works out way better. I think it provides a better flow now.
Did I drift off? That dream. God, it felt so real. The hair on the back of my neck is still standing on end. Declan. Declan. No response. Calm's still down. Oh, Jesus. No, this is crazy. Who would even write all this?
Navi. Navi would write all this. For anyone that gets that reference.
hope to God he's in the habitat. If it was a dream, then why is my scar still warm? Okay, one stack of rocks, fine. This, though, Declan is either really bored or somebody... I don't know. Let's just hope he has too much time on his hands.
And that was another area where, eventually the second time he saw the stacked rocks, he said something about how weird it was. Fixed that and elaborated to give some acknowledgement that he did see the first set. Because it would seem kind of weird just to say, oh, some stacked rocks, after the second or third time you saw them.
Declan, you here? Declan! It's empty? Declan! Damn it, where are you? Don't freak out. Just find out where he is.
This desk was originally right here. Nice scenic view. But we found there was some performance issues with all this stuff going on outside while you're looking at the monitors. So we moved it over there to help improve performance of the game.
Doing good, Chief. Don't look down. Whoa, what is that? Holy shit! No. Oh my god, please just be a meteor. Oh my god. Burning plastic. Definitely a short in the system.
This area had originally a much more, well, to me was a much more annoying puzzle. There was a whiteboard here with various codes and coordinates. So you'd have to figure out a code and coordinate, go up, use the satellite dish, go to those coordinates, listen in for some signal, and then that signal was like, hey, the coordinates have changed, go to this location. You had to like notate that, go back to the chart, figure out what it was referring to, and then go back. That was
reroute power around the damaged node.
a bit too involved, I think. They decided to go with the spider boxes here instead.
This panel distributes power between the dish and the PC terminal, and that busted node means I can only power one of them at a time.
Which a lot of people like the spider boxes, so decided to add a lot. Wait, I won't complain. They're kind of like the old game Pipe Dream.
This circuit box is amping up the current. Too much power will fry the system. Too little, and the dish won't work. Sandstorm is picking up again. Things just keep getting worse.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're still in the build-up phase. In fact, it should be right after this level.
Hello?
All hands on deck situation. Crash landed.
Oh my god. Commander Wilcox, where are you? Do you copy? There is a creature roaming Trailblazer Alpha. Do not return to base. Repeat, do not! No. Commander Wilcox!
Signal
Wilcox!
Please contact a qualified associate.
Come on! Dead. Not even static, but they're alive. Someone is alive.
These little title cards added fairly late into this process. We all loved them when they were added because they help mark when you were making progressing through the story. Originally, we were considering adding a chapter select menu to the game because we have that in our internal builds, so we can more quickly get to different locations for bug testing and whatnot. But you know, kind of once we realized most people are going to probably finish this within a day or two, and you know, there's a resume feature. Probably not something everyone needed. Plus, there was some weird stuff happening with it
No, go
that we
down.
just didn't have time to fully get straightened out.
Oh, shit!
Now here,
Looks like the only way down is to jump. Is this
there
gonna work?
is a way to jump down without taking any damage, but it is incredibly difficult.
God damn it!
And of course, I totally missed the spot.
Jesus.
But if you can fall down there without taking damage, you can recover a lot more quickly. Go a bit faster. It's one of those speedrun tricks. If you strafe or go backwards off of a ledge, you'll fall down more quickly. If you go forward down a ledge, he will actually do the climbing down animation, which of course is a bit slower.
What the fuck is going on?
First time I ran through this level, fog level hadn't been ironed out completely, and it was incredibly dense. And I had no clue about the lights, let alone able to see them. I died a few times before someone pointed out that, hey, the fog is thicker than what it should be, move on to something else.
Oh fuck! Close! Come on! Come on! Come on!
When I first saw that scene of the three spacemen coming towards me, my first thought was the song by the Killers, Spacemen. So I took a screenshot and photoshopped in some instruments in front of three astronauts there, as though they were performing the song. I got a few laughs at work.
Declan?
Shane! Oh, shit! Shane! You're alright! Fuck. First good news in a while.
Declan, there is something at the base. It's some kind of alien. A monster.
We know. Lucas said it had something to do with Volkova's research, so I don't think we can claim credit for discovering aliens.
You saw it?
Shane, we got emergencies upon emergencies right now. The Cyrano fell out of the sky like a rock.
Oh my god. I didn't want to believe it.
I'm with Josie and the Meerkat heading out to the crash site to look for survivors. Lucas volunteered to stay behind at the base, but it's in really bad shape, man. The mangrove tree, its roots are everywhere, taking over.
All right. What can I do?
Lucas said he had a pretty good idea what happened and a way to stop it at the source. Find Lucas and help him. He should be in the research lab. I'm glad you're all right, man. Please stay that way.
That's foreboding. What happens in horror films when you tell someone not to die? Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Evacuate, but I just got here. Yeah. There's another thing. Originally, Shane actually told himself to observe the protocols and stuff
The whole base.
instead of the PA system.
Lucas. Lucas. Of course, no response. Lucas was definitely here. He analyzed a sample of the root. It's the recipe for a plant poison. Well, if Lucas thought it would do something to the tree, I should do the same. I need to find and mix different vials at the centrifuge.
Even though it's called a centrifuge,
To make a mixture.
it does way more than what a centrifuge would.
This could be useful. Ugh. Disgusting.
This is one of those puzzles that I've been surprised so many people haven't been able to figure out. Not the specific like patterns that you have to figure out, but that because it's a centrifuge, it has to be balanced. So many people didn't realize that for some reason. So they'd put the vials in odd locations and it, of course, not work.
Declan, a little hope. Lucas is AWOL, but he was working on a poison. I've got the compound to test out.
Not much but scorched metals and detritus out here. I'd start cataloging, but we're not salvaging. We're walking around a crime scene.
Speaking of crime scene,
What the hell?
dun dun dun.
God damn it. Lucas. Declan. Lucas is dead. Lucas is fucking dead.
Oh God, no.
He's completely covered in that black fluid. It's everywhere. Pulsing. It's on the walls, on the floor. It's like it knew.
Hey, breathe, Shane. You're not gonna die. Nobody else is gonna die. We just have to keep going.
I feel like I'm gonna be sick. I can't deal with this. He coded a biogauge script. Lucas and Ina both knew this could happen. A final gift. I hope it was worth it.
Me too, Shane. I hope it's worth it.
I'll need to use the centrifuge again. Declan, I have what I need. I'm going into the greenhouse, though I'm not sure what to do from there.
Dump the poison in the water reclaimer?
The reclaimer would... No, you're on the right track. I need to hit it at the source. If I can get to the water filtration system, inject it there, the whole system is poisoned. It could work. That's amazing. Now I can find a way into the greenhouse. Thank you, Dr. Van Buren. It's just a short EVA to the airlock at the back of the greenhouse. Declan, there's no helmet in this airlock, and the only way to the greenhouse is from the outside.
Okay, what about the other airlocks?
They're completely overgrown.
2 seconds, door opening. Approximately 50 meters. Another 2 seconds, atmosphere. 10 seconds.
Oh, shit, I know what you're thinking, but I can't...
Your earplugs will prevent your drums from rupturing. Exhale completely. You'll have to sprint. It's only minus 19 Celsius and no risk of frostbite. It's theoretically possible.
This is the worst idea ever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Going Martian atmosphere without a spacesuit. Whereas originally he was gasping this whole time, but with the lack of a oxygen atmosphere on Mars, we felt that that just didn't fit things very well.
Shane, come on, check in.
I'm here. I'm freezing. Headache is back. My ears are ringing. I should be dead.
Jesus, slow down. Fuck, catch your breath, please. Are you good? Tell me you're good. Can you walk at least?
I'm still standing. Hoping I'm not going into shock. I lost 40 years in 10 seconds.
Okay, we'll get you looked at as soon as we can. Hang in there.
It's gotten worse, Declan. Way worse. I'm going to the water purifiers. I hope it'll be enough.
Okay, well, after what you just did, you better fucking kill that thing. Shane, there's a body here.
Jesus.
The impact site is a smoldering mess, and we don't really have the time or the equipment to search through all this.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Mars sucks.
Took up this long to realize that Mars sucks. More optimistic than I would have been.
There are 2 filtration tanks down here. Gotta inject them both. We'll see if it works. Whoa. Declan, it really didn't like that. The poison is already polluting the water supply.
Oh, that's a win. Now get up to the environmental control console and dump the entire reservoir on that bastard. Shane, we found something. Josie saw a door along the escarpment near the crash site. She wants to check it out.
A door?
Carved out of the cliff. It's massive. I told her we need the recon with you, but she's fixated on this.
Orochi has secrets upon secrets. It is Orochi, right?
Apparently, we're going to find out.
Did that do it? No, it's still alive, but I can get closer now. This thing won't... What is this?
Hello, little flesh bag.
Was that Dr. Volkova? Ina? No. No! It can't be her. No way.
Yeah, originally her one eye there was just white, solidly colored over.
That worked. It's getting weaker. Just keep going.
And then they finally added a proper eye to it, and it just became so much more creepy. Knowing she's just staring at you.
I'll destroy you.
Declan, it's Volkova. She's being controlled by the tree. She is the tree.
What the hell? How?
The tree, her specimens, the black infection everywhere. She's not even human anymore.
Cue me. Please. Cue me.
Yeah, the quick time event is still kind of weird. I don't have experience with other games like this, so I'm not sure how much better it could get. Originally, it was actually just two little icons connected by a white line. So you'd have an icon like what's shown here with the mouse where it's indicating the left click mouse. It was just one of those circles with another circle that was actually tied to your look. And I died countless times to that before I finally realized, I have to pull it over to the one in the center. And so it was, while there was a hint of obviousness with the line connecting the two, it was still more difficult to figure out than the current one with the more flashier system. Luckily, it's not used that often.
Shane, can you access Ina's files?
I just saw Ina the other day. It wasn't like this.
Shane, focus. The Cyrano crash, the black oil, the plant life expanding exponentially. This doorway, it's all connected.
Where are you? I'm coming. I'm getting out of here.
No. You need to access Ina's computer and find out exactly what she was up to.
My God, are you kidding me?
Shane, think. The Cyrano is gone, and our resupply with it. If the main base goes down, we're all dead. If Volkova's research still poses a threat, we need to know.
You want to find out what she was up to? You come and do it yourself. I don't care.
Hey, listen, I know you've been through a lot. I'm sorry. We all have.
You're right. I bet the seats on the rover are just unbearable.
Hey, listen, buddy, I've spent all afternoon picking up whatever pieces I could find on the Cyrano crew. Don't act like you're the only one who's having a tough day.
Anytime you want to trade places, you be my guest.
Oh, fuck off.
Enough! Both of you! Dr. Newhart, do you read me?
Commander Wilcox.
Your primary objective is to assess any further threat to the base. Volkova was clearly hiding things from us. Use her security clearance to obtain whatever information you can find. You are to remain at base and radio your findings to your off-site team. Copy?
Yes. Copy.
We're headed to the cliffside doorway. If there's proof of intelligent life on Mars, I want to know. I want everyone to know. Declan, you're on comms.
Got it. Hey, sorry to be a dick.
Yeah, me too. All right. I can do this.
I mean, if I were to start somewhere, it'd be Volkova's computer.
Right. I'll check with her station in the research lab. Maybe she left a note or something.
You got this.
Declan, there's an elevator in the center of the research lab. The server room has an elevator.
Oh, shit. I've walked by it 100 times.
Creepy little pet plants over here. Actually moving around. Hello.
I'm heading down.
Originally, surface tunnel and processing you could visit. They were levels you went through some various tunnels and stuff. Really not much in the way of gameplay or knowledge learned. We kind of felt that as interesting as they were kind of time sinks, so they kind of got cut.
The whole system locks down if the security camera spots me. Maybe I can connect to it with the biogauge.
Ah. Well, that was unfortunate. Computer lagged hard enough I couldn't move it. Rip indeed. Although, got this far without dying, that's not too bad. Usually much further in that level, I die too frequently.
Declan, there's an elevator. In the center of the research lab. The server room has an elevator.
Oh, shit. I've walked by it 100 times.
Well, to be fair, the computer I have it, well,
I'm heading down.
the main computer I have at work is way more beefy than what I have here at home. I think at work they're like i7s with it's either 16 or 32 gig of RAM. At home, I've only got 8 gig of RAM on my home computer, and it's a AMD A10. I also only have a NVIDIA 950 video card.
Shit, not that thing again.
Level 4 security protocol. All personnel access restricted.
Try this again. There we go. Kick that android in place.
Unauthorized access. Unauthorized access. Security en route. Please await lethal response.
Shane, we made it to the door. Definitely not a Roshi. It looks ancient. But they've been here. There's equipment near the base and there's a strange artifact on a pedestal. If they found a way inside, there's gonna be record of it.
I'll see what I can find out. Oh my god. Declan, there are layers to this place. An entire complex. I can't believe this was right under our feet.
Josie was right. Volkova knew.
can't be real.
This area, the first few times we ran through it, was way more complicated. There was a bunch of security cameras that you had to connect to. So you would connect to a camera, and then when you visually through that camera saw the other camera, you would connect to it and kind of daisy chain off these cameras until you finally got to a spider box, which was this one way down here, where you only luckily have to do just one camera now. I mean, it was an interesting puzzle, but it just took too much time, really.
I'll be able to get through the room next door if I head back.
I think I just barely remember that quest in Secret World at the bank heist.
Must be Volkova's lab. The CEO of Orochi? Holy shit, why is this here? Declan, I'm standing by a window overlooking a room filled with pods containing androids. I thought it was automated sensors or something, but there must be hundreds of these things on Mars.
What are they doing?
Everything here. This is the hub of their Mars expansion plans.
Run away! Run! This was another area where you had to daisy chain security cameras, try to get to places, and eventually there's a computer in there that you had to interface with to disable another security system, if I remember right. That got changed very early on. Much better now, I think. This you actually had to climb over into instead of this bench or table or whatever this is. But we did a pass one day finding all the places that we felt were needless climbing points and made them a bit more convenient. There, or is there? This little room had one of the most complicated puzzles in the game. I'm a little disappointed they cut it, but in the long run it's probably for the better. you originally had to scan that camera from the outside and connect to a spider box that was like right here. That spider box had 3 different connections it could go through. One of them, because there were various security precautions in here, like right here you can see these little things at the door. Right here where it's lit up, there were laser grids that would detect anyone going through it. You breached that grid and an android would come find you and kill you. And you effectively had to get the right one, come over here, scan another camera that was like right here, I believe, daisy chain off to get back to the spider box, and then disable the next one, run over here, and then eventually get over here. And this is where Samuel's ID card was actually laying. Very complicated. Probably a bit too challenging compared to everything else. But yeah, long term, I think it's a bit smoother now.
Mom was approached by Orochi. They interrogated her. What else are they hiding in this Project Icarus? Did they find her research? Did they find her? I need to know.
I don't know, man, but I sure as hell wouldn't stick around long enough to find out.
Oh, but we are going to find out.
ASAP, you have to see this.
I'll meet you there. But there's something I have to find out first.
You're all alone, little one. Sometimes I feel alone, too. We're both alone here. Together.
Yeah, although in here, the only indication of the laser grids is actually those little lights on the sides. You didn't actually visually see the laser. And I don't know if they ever tried to make the lasers visual, or if they decided to cut it before trying. Because I think that was what made it really difficult, is you didn't really notice they were there.
I have seen where they root, slither like snakes amongst the leaves.
There was actually interactables on this very early on, where you needed another tool to break into them. But that also got cut very early, so I don't know what might have been in there. Probably just little random things that had nothing to do with the actual story.
My God. It's completely taken over.
Seething tendrils of a hive, ever expanding. Fools, they cannot be contained.
And much like Argus, this area has a few little computers hidden, like that one that has all sorts of flavor text and details about what's actually going on. That was something we got to go through every single entry, make sure all the text was there, grammatically correct, spelling and whatnot. We also got to do a pass on those in foreign languages just to make sure the translations showed up. Always fun playing a game in a foreign language when you don't know the language. I tried it a few times in Korean. And the main goal there is not necessarily knowing what it says, but just making sure that it doesn't show up in English.
What is that?
This was another area where there were more boxes, and some of them you had to climb over, which we felt that was kind of unnecessary time sink, so we cut that and just made it so you could run around them.
You're trembling. Let me swaddle you in the viscera and wrap you in the nature of my bones.
Stop it! Get out of my head!
You could crack open your helmet like a walnut. Let it only crack. And my voices will still be there. Not in the spaces we know, but in between.
Yeah, there's a lot of like content for the story if you go that direction, and if you continue on there. Bunch of interesting stuff down those paths, but
That's disgusting.
you have to play the game to see those.
Untethered.
Oh shit! Come on! Come on! Come on, open! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Come on! Come on! Open! 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 Come on! Shit! Okay. Come on. Close! Close, you piece of shit! Close! Ha! Yes! Fuck you, you plant piece of shit!
This is another area QA was able to provide some input on, because when you did the hand scanner, unless you turned around, you would have never known a stalker was there waiting to pounce on you. And he was just casually just, chilling, waiting on the elevator. So we were like, hey, shouldn't he have a reaction here? So they added some great voiceovers on that one.
My mind opened like a nocturnal flower, aching for the pollinator bat. I opened endless eons and inconceivable dimensions to worlds of elder outer eternity. Oh, how rock casts a shadow. The corona surrounds the dark. Unauthorized access. Unauthorized access. Security en route. Please await lethal response.
Locked in. What are they keeping here?
This is another incredibly difficult puzzle. I think I finally had to ask people, like, what the clue was. Because this is the first time you come across a computer.
Orochi was here.
It's a full
Makes no sense.
alphabet option.
It's probably a four-letter word. I should look around for some clues.
And this little place, the 3D effect here was a fairly faint blue color, and New Eden was much smaller, so it was very easy to miss that clue. So they changed the color, make it a bit more clear. I think the red looks better for the 3D effect anyways.
New Eden. Orochi is planning on building a city here. A failsafe.
There is no escape. The dream will consume them. They are inevitable.
An emergency failsafe if Project Eclipse is released. If I can lower the shield, I can get out of this room.
Once it is broken, the rush is upon you.
I'm
You don't
getting
get
out
to
of
be
here.
the
I
same
wonder if those
person after
consoles
they
have
get
anything
in.
to do with Project Eclipse.
Yes, that sounds safe. Let's just start activating stuff. Surely nothing could go wrong.
was that thing?
Guess is as good as mine, Shane. Clue for this one is also a bit tricky because there's quite a few erroneous ones. There's the clock over here. Originally, there was a different Bible verse here, and that Bible verse was actually the code for the machine. Since this is in a corner, I know I overlooked it just about every single time. Several others had the problem too, so they made it a bit more obvious right here.
Meeting at 512? That's oddly specific.
It is very specific. And of course now I totally don't remember what the code was anymore, because it was something other than 512 originally.
Brilliance.
Yeah, I could see that. Of course, we also don't know if AO and the Secret World are connected at all. There's been no indication as to whether or not there is. There could be. I mean, Bingo Cola exists both in AO and the Secret World.
Our family therapist's office. I can still smell the musty leather sofa in the corner. My parents took me here when I started having night terrors.
I understand that some might consider my behavior obsessive. Yes. We may not agree on the finer points, but I can't let it go on any longer. Not like this. My father, he always used to say, Cynthia, your brain has its own mouth, and all it does is devour books. I was insatiable. I learned to see data where no one had ever thought to look. But I never thought it would consume me, strip me of my accolades, that it would affect my son. Can't keep doing this. That second mouth in my head, it just keeps eating. It will never stop. I know how that sounds.
Ah, so you have seen that portal. Very few people have seen that in Agartha. So I try not to bring it up to spoil it. Originally, when you entered this room, you actually had to interact with the voice recorder to start the playing of the dialogue. But simplify things, give it a better flow. We just made it automatic.
The space between dreams. Excellent try, Gloria. However, while the roads of Agartha do traverse the vastness of time and space, the corridor... That's very cutting edge, Adam. And while the full answer to that is quite complex, that is still incorrect. What a distinctive answer, Rupert. That is an interesting theological...
No problem.
But it is wrong.
I mean, it's one thing for a player to bring up something, another for me, considering I know way more secrets about the game than the players do.
Very good. The answer is the dreaming ones. The dreaming ones were, the dreaming ones are, the dreaming ones shall be. Not in the spaces we know, but between. They walk serene and primal, undimensioned and to us unseen. They can teach us deep knowledge, secrets past the skin of eternity.
See when it's happening. Yesterday, I saw a light streaming through the kitchen window. A mote, illuminated, suspended in the air. I spent the remainder of the day in my office researching. I've been accused of isolating myself. I merely am who I am and have always been. dictionary of new words to describe the universe. Words that no one else could ever know. The promise of limitless knowledge to an insatiable mind. Is it any surprise I struggle with domesticity? But I had to make a choice. I'm sealing it away. I have to try. Shane is my universe.
Once you open the book, it's already too late. It's always too late.
Orochi contacted me this week. They've approached me several times in my life. They knew about the Red Planet. Twins. Shane saw inside of me. There was plans. They never know anything. And that's why, Doctor, I found out that Orochi told them what I said. We'll find out just how pathetic I am. Now, you're curious about the dreaming ones.
Why are you doing this?
They cannot awaken. The moons bend above us. It is all but a brilliant equation.
Please, I need you to help me.
I thought I am. I was. I will.
God damn it, who are you?
Shane. I'm sorry, Shane. I've made so many mistakes. You were never supposed to be here.
Mom? Why are you... How did you get here?
My curiosity led me here. The pages of the Necronomicon revealed a mathematics I had never encountered, and a pathway to the dream world. I didn't know that once I made the choice, I could never return. The decision has weighed on me ever since.
Wait on you? Do you have any idea what that did to us? To Dad? When you left, it broke him. We searched for you for years.
Shane, please, listen.
Has it been you this whole time? In the base, haunting the crew? Driving us crazy with these nightmares?
Stop! The struggle tears at my soul. It takes every ounce of concentration I have to remain here. I need your help, son. We must act quickly. When the ship passed between the moons, the twin dreamers were disturbed in their slumber. All the
Notice she's got equations all over her arms, hands, and pants.
of the destruction that it can bring. If they corrupt the engine, the moons of Mars, the dreaming ones will awaken, and they will devour all of reality.
You left me. You left us for a delusion. What the fuck do you care about reality?
Reality is where my son lives.
What do I need to do?
Find the Gaia. I will help you do what must be done. Help me, Shane. Help me undo what has been set in motion.
Please don't leave again.
Don't worry. We'll solve this. Together.
Pretty much any option there will take you where you need to go.
Shane. Shane?
Declan! Sorry, I don't know what happened. There's so much more down there, Declan. Clones, mind control, the dreamers, the dreaming ones. Declan, we have to find the Gaia engine. It's the only thing holding them back. Everything, the filth, the nightmares, my hallucinations, they're connected. We need to find the engine.
Okay. Shane, slow down. We're inside. You need to get here as soon as possible.
Hell if I'm staying here. We have to find it.
Okay. We'll find this machine. Because as much as I don't have any idea what you're talking about, it makes more fucking sense than anything else that's happened today.
Final chapter of the game. In the home stretch now. Of which I totally forgot to pull up my cheat sheet for one of the final puzzles in the game. It's the one puzzle I can never fully remember because it's so abstract. So we'll see how bad I am at trying to do it from memory when we get there.
Oh my god. I'm arriving at the door now. It's massive.
Yeah, these stone carvings must be thousands of years old. The records of excavation you found in Argus? This must be the place.
I'll meet you inside.
Magnificent!
Incredible. The murals are so well preserved.
I came here to learn from the ancients, travelers at the nexus of the dream world. The Gaia engine they discovered, that immaculate machine, spans both dimensions. It powered their entire civilization, gave them pure vision, sight through time, knowledge unencumbered. And with all the good that intense light and power brings, there is always someone or something who wants to claim it for their own. I craved it. The knowledge consumed me. And I learned and I saw. These murals, Shane. It's a warning they left here long ago. If we let the filth take over the Gaia engine, the universe is left to the whims of ancient beings awakening from a million-year slumber. You and I, we are the final guardians. We must repair what has been broken. Reality will cease to exist.
There's something under the ground here. It's shifting through the sand.
Get off the sand, Declan! Declan!
Holy shit.
Keep moving! Keep fucking moving!
These tunnels also, very early on, took 3 to 4 times longer to progress. There was a bit more exposition.
The engine! That must be it!
It doesn't look like any engine I've ever seen. I'm coming. Hold on.
What is this place?
They found it. They found the engine.
Cross the threshold. You must reach them.
But the additional travel like really didn't add much more to the game.
The stone.
So they found a way of shortening things.
Key, maybe.
Their eyes, they are forever open, never blinking until they crack like eggs and reappear.
Declan, snap out of it. Here, take this.
What am I supposed to do with it?
And then here there was going to be another puzzle. There were these lights that required oxygen to work, which apparently are a real thing. I think it's oxygen, lithium, or something like that. And so you actually had to use oxygen from your own suit supply to power them up, and they would slowly tick down and get dimmer. But you had a light here, you had a shine in here, and this was covered by rock that you had to use your crowbar to then knock out. That was another one of those interesting things, but you run through it enough times, it kind of feels like it's just a needless time sink. And these things were one-time use, so you could use it once, but not again, which was a part of the puzzle. So you had to like refill those lamps, and then come over here to refill your supply.
What the hell is that thing?
Convenient tie-in to the Dunes game? No. That was,
Sand is shaking. Not good.
as fun as that would be, it was totally independent lines of thoughts there. So there is no tie-in there.
I feel tremors.
What are these?
Symbols. A language. An unlocking mechanism?
Declan, what are you doing?
That did something. Holy shit, it's spinning faster. It's working.
My God. Do that again.
I gotta get off this sand.
I'm gonna try to barricade the door!
No, it's already here.
Yeah, that was...
You fucking bastards! You're gonna have to tear me apart!
Josie. Oh my God, Josie. Shit. Josie is...
Hold on.
Yeah, I think at one point one of the writers for the game was very tempted to cut some of those lines about the tremors. Like, no, that's too funny. I have to keep it in. Immaculate machine.
The moons loom above us, drawing closer together with every second.
This had a lot of changes. Originally, these two guys weren't there.
Oh, Josie. My God.
That was a pretty shocking sight first time I saw it.
No. Declan! Fuck, this can't be happening.
Shane, listen to me. You can't trust her. She isn't who you think. And if she is who you think, she doesn't deserve you. They told me to load it into the Invictus. A failsafe, you know. They said I'd know when to use it. Said I'd know if I should. Well, it's now, Shane. And you. I won't be coming along, buddy. Save the world, man. And tell your mom to fuck off. For me.
Shit, Declan. I'm sorry. I was too late. I'll finish this. This is the end.
Right.
You can't let your friends die.
This is the puzzle section.
I cannot do it alone, Shane. My form.
This is where I need my cheat sheet, but I forgot it.
I will guide you. In my hands.
I'm ready.
Yes. Quickly to the next. The moons draw ever nearer. Illuminate the ancient machine while there's still time. Hurry, Shane. I'm counting on you. You must. You must. Tendrils of filth slither along the spine of time. They thrust themselves into the ether, tear at the fabric.
Oh, which one was this?
Doing so well, my son. Just one more. Do it, Shane. You are the key. Wondrous light. Return for us. Bridge the dimensions. Light and shadow. Repair the drifting, shining, luminous. Do you hear it singing? It sings, Shane. I can feel it. The energy. It's weakening. There is still hope. The moons must not align. Go, my son. It shines with the brightness of infinite knowledge. Do not fear it. No, your friends. They died to help you. Finish what they started.
This is one of those sections that after you play it hundreds of times and hearing the dialogue hundreds of times is a scene from Star Trek film that always comes to mind. What was it? Undiscovered Country, where they're trying to create a torpedo that will track a cloaked Klingon ship, and Bones and the commander of the Klingon ship is just espousing I totally forget. Just not poetry, but Shakespeare. He's just espousing Shakespeare. And McCoy at one point is just like, I'd pay real money to shut him up. So there's several times I've thought the same thing about Cynthia here.
I hope to God this works.
My
But
Jesus!
since other people aren't going to be playing it 100 times like I have, it's not an issue.
Inevitable. We were too late, Shane. The engine cannot contain the dreamers any longer. Run! Before it consumes you! Run!
Speaking of movies, we now do our Monty Python bit of run away. Run far, far away.
It's unstable. The unbearable light. It's destroying the temple.
The engine! We charged it! Why didn't it work?
What they warned would happen. Was it prophecy? The beings that lived here. They were warning themselves. Other travelers. This galaxy. It was doomed to the void. The awakening is inevitable.
This part, there was another place you break out the crowbar to break through some rocks.
There has to be something we can do.
Cynthia actually appeared here to help
Last chance.
protect you from the falling rocks,
Gaia engine is compromised.
which
We're stirred.
seemed totally out of place for her to suddenly materialize.
Mended. The work requires sacrifice.
Mom! Stay with me!
To the moons.
Let's fly to the moons so we can play amongst the stars. Almost fell off there. Wouldn't have been the first time.
The engine can be reborn, but it requires sacrifice. The moons, the dreamers, Phobos and Deimos. We must close the rift, shut the gate. Shane, you are here for a reason. You were marked, sent here, chosen.
I don't know what's going on. It's all falling apart. Everything. What do I have to do?
To the moons. You must go to the moons. There is no other way. Fly to the stars, to where the Cyrano broke the barrier and slipped from the sky.
To the launch pad. The Invictus should be ready to fly.
I believe in you.
All right, Shane. You can do this. First step, get to the command console.
Retrace their path. Meet the ritual.
Something got here before me. Not good.
Also something that became something of a catchphrase at work for quite a while is the not good.
I have to hurry. God damn it! No! Not now! They're going to destroy the ship! Shit! There's movement under the sand. Those things are back. I have to be quick!
This is one of those amusing little puzzles where you find out there's multiple ways to do it after something breaks. At one point, this pillar, you could actually clip right through it, so you couldn't get up on top of this.
That rock should be safe.
And a couple of us were like, can't do this now because you can't get up on here. And when the other QA guys was like,
If I can just make
I've never done that, I just go straight for this rock over here. We were kind of baffled that you could actually make it. We never tried that. We just went for the closest possible option first.
It's
That's
moving.
why you try to have
Run!
more than one person do QA, because everyone thinks a little bit differently.
I have to be quick! Made it! I hope to God the ship holds together.
Of which I think there were 3 separate teams of QA that actually worked on this game. There was ours at Funcom, there was some at Rock Pocket, and then an independent company that we had do some QA on. All finding various things that one or the other might have somehow overlooked just simply due to playstyle and experience. Considering I've only done QA for like just over a year now, there's still things that I'm
A
learning.
little more time. I never thought I'd be leaving Mars this way. Lucas, Ina, Josie, Declan. This one's for you. Everything needs to be green. This is it. Good as it can be. Let's do this. Now.
Let's fly.
Countdown. Close your eyes. Cross your fingers.
Don't close your eyes. Not using the force here.
We're clear of the atmosphere. Trajectory is set for orbit. What do we do next? Mom? Mom, are you there? Holy shit! What's happening?
This is everything you are. Just you alone. It's time, Shane.
Time for what?
Hush, my sweet boy. It's almost over.
No! This is wrong! You want to release those things!
They must be free, so that I can be freed. You destroyed the Gaia engine with your corrupted hands. Please, Shane, help me.
Say no, we're not going to help her.
Mars sucks.
Going to end this.
Dreamers? No!
And the universe has been saved. For now. It's too bad. It's 2.5 hours long, considering I paused in a few places.
By the sudden disappearance of the moons of Mars.
And I died once. Just that was Moons of Madness, which I had spent several months doing QA for. Definitely a fun experience. Learned new processes for doing QA that we never had to do for the MMOs. Hopefully these new experiences will help us look at future things in a new and better light. The bad ending. The bad ending is where you save people? That could be debatable. Well, there's nothing after the credits other than it returning to the main menu. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope I provided some fun or interesting details about the game. Maybe I should do something like this with some of our MMOs. Although a lot of that information is a bit more obscure in my mind now, because those games are several years old. But I might be able to recollect some stuff about at least AO, possibly TSW, or well, SWOL as we now refer to it. The relaunch. You're welcome. Funcom credits. Yes, while we primarily produced the game, we did provide some development assistance to ensure we could get it out in time for this year's Halloween. Oh, I will end it here. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. And for those of y'all in the Discords, I will catch y'all there. And for any of you that aren't already aware, I am on Twitter. Shalgens there as well. I do another stream, I'll definitely be spamming everywhere again. Of which, speaking of my username, I know a lot of people try to pronounce it Salgens, or it's actually the preferred method is Shalgens, only because it's an extrapolation of SG because of a previous name I went by. Everyone just shortened it to SG, to just quicker typing. And then when I became a GM at Funcom, I, needed some name to go by, so I just extrapolated from the shortened name, Shalgens. So the G in Shalgens is the G of SG. But I mean, not gonna make me angry if you mispronounce it. It's one of those little tidbits I find amusing. I shall catch y'all all later.